God had promised Abraham a son. Years passed. The stars were still countless, but Sarai's womb remained silent. Time became heavy. Hope began to ache. And in the waiting, faith grew tired. Sarai looked at the promise and then at reality. She looked at Abraham's age. She looked at her own barrenness, and she reached for a solution that made sense to human logic. "Go into my servant Hagar," she said. "Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abraham listened. Not because God spoke, but because waiting was hard. What God had promised by faith, they tried to fulfill by effort. Hagar conceived, and immediately tension filled the household. Pride rose. Resentment followed. Sarai felt dishonored. Hagar felt mistreated. Abraham stood silent as peace unraveled. What was meant to help the promise began to complicate it. Hagar fled into the wilderness, alone, pregnant, rejected. But even in the detour, God was present. An angel met her and spoke a name that revealed God's heart. El Roi, the God who sees. God saw Hagar. God heard her affliction. God promised her a son named Ishmael. Yet this was not the covenant child. Years later, when the time appointed by God finally came, Sarah conceived impossibly, miraculously. Isaac was born, not by human strategy, but by divine faithfulness. The detour did not cancel God's promise, but it created consequences that echoed through generations. This is the lesson of the detour. God's timing is never late. Human shortcuts often create lasting pain. Waiting is part of faith, not a failure of it. God remains faithful, even when we rush ahead. Abraham learned what we all must learn. Helping God is not the same as trusting Him. So, pause and ask yourself, where have I rushed instead of waited? What promise am I trying to force instead of trust? If you believe God's timing is perfect, even when it hurts to wait, type amen in the comments. Choose patience. Choose trust. Choose God's way.